Andrew Aversa with Impact Soundworks, and today I'm going to be demonstrating Ventus Ethnic Winds Tin Whistle. This is the second installment into the Ventus series, which covers ethnic woodwind instruments from all over the world. The first instrument was the shakuhachi, and the tin whistle here uses many of the same features, the same interface, effects rack, and articulation matrix. So I'll be spending this video showing some of the unique articulations and phrases. First, let's just hear what it sounds like out of the box. Now that's just playing with the sustain articulation, legato, and then a little bit of portamento there at the end, which is not a typical technique, but it's something that we recorded nonetheless. The tin whistle is a fairly high-pitched instrument. You can see at the bottom here, if I scroll up, the range is quite high. It starts from this C, and it goes up to a high F. You can control the dynamics of the instrument with this slider here, which I have assigned to mod wheel by default. The instrument has 3 unique vibrato types, so let me enable vibrato here. If we click on the vibrato menu, right now it's set to breath, so let's check out fingered instead. The difference is with breath, it's created by manipulating the airstream into the instrument, whereas the fingered type is done by lightly tapping another hole on the tin whistle. There's also smooth, which is generated by contact itself. And the nice thing about smooth is that you have control over the depth and the frequency, so we could go a little slower and not quite as extreme. And again, this is smoothly crossfadable. I have this assigned to CC11 right now, but you can assign it to anything you want. There's also the flutter articulation, just like the shakuhachi. Additionally, you can assign these to not just normal MIDI CCs, but aftertouch. That's the AT option here. Okay, so now let's check out some of the unique articulations that come with the tin whistle. I have everything triggered via keyswitch right now. If I hop over to the Articulations tab, this is TACT, the system which I've demonstrated before. I'll put a link right here up on the screen, as well as in the description if you're not familiar with this system that we've developed and that we're now using for multiple instruments. Sus normal is on C0 as a latching key switch. Let's try bend up instead, so I'll hold C sharp 0. It's a nice emotional bend, very useful. Now let's try the sus double, which is 2 grace notes followed by a sustain. If we open the Advanced tab here, you can see that these articulations can also be set to use the legato transition or not. If I turn this off for sustain double, and I use this key switch again, even though I'm playing legato, it's not actually triggering the legato slide. So this can be enabled and disabled on a per articulation basis. There's also overblown. And then some of the most idiomatic articulations are strikes, cuts, crans, and rolls. These are very frequently used in tin whistle performances and also other similar recorder style instruments. And these can be triggered as mid-articulations. This is new in the tin whistle instrument. That means that you can hit a note, a normal sustain like an A, and then you can play one of these key switches, C1, D1, or E1, and it will actually trigger that articulation in the middle of the note. And it's all very seamless. And as soon as you release this, it will just return to the note that you were playing before. Even if you trigger multiple mid-articulations in a row, and even if you're changing notes. So like, let me play a short phrase. You can change the volume of these independently as well. So if you feel like the strikes are a bit too loud, you can turn that down. And these two can be triggered with legato on or off. So let's say you hold down the key switch for strikes before you play a note, then that is what you'll hear just as with any other key switch. Moving on, we have sustained trills, which are really just like quick grace notes. The real trills, so to speak, are a bit higher up, so we have F sharp 0 and G 0 by default. And if you play low velocity, you get minor intervals, so minor seconds or minor thirds. But if you play on high velocities, you get the major version. Then there are rips. Very sprightly and lively articulation, and staccatos. In terms of release articulations, there are two different types. One is the release Deut, and the other is the drop. These, again, are assigned to key switch by default, but you could put these on anything you want. For example, you could set these to trigger in a certain key range or velocity range, but I'll keep it on key switches now just for consistency. So let me go ahead and hit A sharp 0 and release a note. Or instead, we can do drops. I have these turned down a bit by default, but you can always turn them back up. Going back to the main page, I'm going to turn up the Ornaments knob to 50% or so, which means that there's a 50% chance I'll get one of these ornaments instead, and I can turn these on or off and change the chances for each. Now, we've actually slightly tweaked the system from the shakuhachi. We've made it a bit more intuitive here. If you change something to 50 and another articulation is 100, that just means the relative chance of a strike is about half as much as a cut or a cran and roll. So let's hear what that sounds like. So with that little phrase, I was getting ornaments about half the time. If we turn this up and then throw in some other articulations here, how about overblown every so often? And we'll put trills pretty high up there. I'm going to play again. And the same goes for releases. So if we turn these on, and just so we can hear what's going on, I'll turn off the attack articulations, and we'll give a 50-50 chance of either one of these playing. And there you go. One of my favorite parts about this instrument is how energetic it can be and how beautiful the legatos can sound. And for that reason, modifying these controls, length, crossfade time, and pre-transition, is very important depending on how you want your legato performance to sound and the kind of music that you're writing. It's pretty fast, but if we reduce the pre-transition time and then increase the length, we're going to get a more exaggerated legato. But if we wanted a faster style of playing, we might use settings like this. You can also create your own endless variations of strikes, cuts, and rolls by playing notes and then very, very quickly playing grace notes yourself. So if I play a D and I play some other notes just very quickly. It all sounds very fluid and natural. Now let's check out the phrases patch. We have nearly 450 different phrases that are categorized, like you can see on the screen here. You can switch categories by either clicking or using key switches. You can see those key switches light up at the bottom. So let's go with mediums and just play a few. And so on. You get the idea. You can also change the start and end points of a phrase. So let's say we play this one. But I really like this last part, so I'll move the start marker here. And by doing this, you can create your own performance bed of all these different little bits and pieces. And with the start and end times adjusted, you can actually improvise pretty much an entire song or piece of music just by taking these different phrases and combining them in all sorts of unique ways. And so that is the Tin Whistle by Impact Soundworks, the second in the Ventus Ethnic Wind series. You not only get the Kontakt patches, which do require the full version of Kontakt 5.3 or higher, but you also get all these phrases as waves as well, so you can drag and drop them in your own project. Anyway, this has been Andrew Aversa. I hope you enjoyed the Tin Whistle. I'll see you next time.